Hello, everyone. I am Christina Taylor, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, coming to you from North Canton, Ohio. And we are going to do some fall cards today. So I'm hoping that this is getting recorded. I have had real challenges with recording lately, so um, hopefully this video is going to be a go and it'll be all smooth sailing and you can that was kind of funny. I said sailing, and then the wind is like blowing through my hair because I have my air conditioner, my little fan unit on. It's like I'm at the beach. Anyway, I'm hoping that you can hear my audio as my mouth is moving and I am talking because it has been a challenge with the audio with my recording over top and echoing, and I think I've got it figured out, but I had to do muting. So I'm hoping that it's actually recording on this. Let's see. Anyway, so thanks for joining me today. We're gonna make some autumn cards. So it's even though here in Ohio we're having some very nice late summer temperatures. Today is September 19th. And so we're just a couple days away from fall, and our weather and the forecast doesn't really look like fall at all, which I'm not complaining, although we could use some rain. So but it's been very nice. Today is like 80 degrees and sunny. It's very nice outside. So I think that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera down and give you a peek at the projects and talk about a few things that are going on with Stampin' Up! And we're going to get started and stamp. All right. Okay, so this is a peek at the projects that we're going to be doing. Um, these two might vary a little bit as we are doing the projects, and I'll explain that as we kind of go along. But this is a little peek at what we're going to do. All fall cards. Just put those up there out of the way. So I've got a few things to share with you. Of course, our holiday or our September through December occasions catalog is out. So it's all things fall, Christmas, all this time of year with different products and whatnot, which I did a catalog walkthrough. So you can find that on my YouTube channel at Christina Taylor Stamp Me Crazy. You go there, you can find a catalog walkthrough. And I think there's also an opportunity on there for a free class too, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, the date, I might need to check on that because the date, I might need to draw the winner for that. So that's my mental note to check that out myself. Okay, so there's a couple things going on with Stampin' Up. So we've got a World Card Making Day coming up. It's an event coming up on October 5th, which happens to be the same time, same date as my Christmas card class that's coming up. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So this is a free event from Stampin' Up. And if you're attending my local Christmas card class, you're coming in person, it's from 1 to 4, which is the same time during, well, let me see, wait a minute. This is Mountain Time and we're a couple hours behind. So actually this starts at 4, like 4 to 5 our time, Eastern time, I believe. So I think they're 2 hours behind us. So you could potentially come to the class, run home and kind of get some more crafting in. But what I'm trying to say is if you register for this event, which is free, they will send you a link and you can actually go back and watch the recording. So it's a great way to kind of get a free class from Stampin' Up! And a peek at some like new projects and new products. So yeah, I will send out some information on those registration details as well. This flyer has a QR code on it, but obviously that's not going to work so much on the video. So that's coming up. Again, as I mentioned, it's the same day as my Christmas card class where we're doing 20 cards for 20 cards with envelopes. So you're doing 4 of 5 designs, 4 each of 5 designs. And that is a $40 fee for that class. And again, we're doing 20 cards. These cards will be all simple, duplicatable, mailable. So not as much die cutting and steps as what we're doing in these cards today. So know that. but I always get a really good response back from the Christmas card class. Everybody seems to really enjoy it. And it's on October 5th, but we, of course, will be listening to Christmas music that day, regardless of the temperatures outside, and having some Christmas cookies. So why not just get in the festive fun spirit a little sooner? So yeah, registration is open for that. And then my next class, like a Wednesday class, is coming up. I think it's on October. I think it's October. Oh goodness. I don't have my calendar in front of me. I want to say maybe the 16th. It's a third Wednesday. I should have written that down before I got in the video. It's third Wednesday, and we're doing greetings of gratitude. So that will be a fun class and have like some fall imagery in there as well. So that should be a good class to attend as well. And that was 8 cards and it's a $23 fee. You can also do kids to go for either class option. So Stampin' Up! Has released a lot of online exclusives. We have some different holiday products on there in the online exclusives, some fall papers, some winter holiday paper, some a suite. Words are so hard for me when I record these videos, I swear. Um, a suite that has a stamp set, some die cuts, designer series paper, specialty paper. So definitely you can check these out online. There's also a complete line of our card kits, which these are great for when I have like the little the kit together gatherings where you choose the kit and everybody's working on something different and we just kind of have that fellowship and crafting time with each other and everybody's working independently. The last one that I had was it was nice. There was a couple ladies there and we really enjoyed that time and space with each other. So I've got another one coming up, I believe, on November 1st. There's also some information for some scrapbooking products. You know, since we had that kind of, I don't want to say merger because we didn't like it, that's not the right words, but with close to my heart, where they were going out of business and Stampin' Up! Took over some of their product lines. So now we're offering some different things for scrapbooking, which of course we as card makers will look at those scrapbooking kits and think about how many cards we can make out of them. So if you want a closer look at these scrapbooking packets that are new for Stampin' Up!, check those out online. We also have some two-tone colored cardstock that's coming out, and it has like the white core in the paper instead of being colored all the way through like Stampin' Up's is. Stampin' Up's paper is. So there's a variety of different kits here with Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And again, you can get a closer look at those online. Some of them have stamp sets to go with them as well. So that's just a little peek at some kind of online stuff. This is courtesy, these printouts are courtesy of Melanie. She's my downline and she loves to print stuff out, which I appreciate her so much because she just updates me all the time. And that's so kind of her. So that's everything that's kind of online, what's going on. And I think that's it. We'll go ahead and get started stamping. For today, if there's anything that you see that you would like to have for your crafting creations, you can visit my online store at stampingyoucrazy.stampinup.net. This is my current host code, which is VEFGT4C9. And also you can find me on Facebook, although I've said before, I'm not as active on Facebook as I should be. You'll find more content on my YouTube channel at Stamp Me Crazy, Christina Taylor at Stamp Me Crazy. Feel free to share my video with others, and it helps me grow my online presence, and I appreciate that so much. So I'm gonna get our first project going here with supplies. Let me pause the camera a little bit and get the stuff out so you don't have to like kind of listen to me ramble with that. We are going to go ahead and start with this project first. So we've got some beautifully embossed vellum there, die cutting, some details and some embellishments, all that good stuff. So we are going to go ahead with, let me let you know what we're using on this project. So the ink that we're using is Blackberry Bliss. And let me just tell you, at class, everybody was wearing the Blackberry Bliss ink because this pad is extremely juicy, even though it has been well loved at class. I mean, look at my stamps. If you use the polymer stamps on anything purple red related, they're going to be pink afterwards. So it was very well loved. We all had Blackberry Bliss on our fingers, and yeah. So we're also using the Changing Leaves stamp set, the dies, and the hybrid embossing folder. So this bundle is currently not available, but it is supposed to be back in stock next week. It has been hugely popular. It's one of our online exclusives. And I love the folder in it, the dies, I love all the things. So which is why I got it. I like that the fact that these leaves have different textures to them and they're all very different. And then you've got some great sentiments on this as well. Just get those a little closer so you can get a peek there. And then in the stamp set, I know I've used this, shown this before. Oh, you know what? And I need to go to grab the little die cut. Hang on, let me do that. Okay, sorry, I had these other two dies over on with my die cutting machine, and they're also part of this. So you've got these three labels, these two detailed die cut pieces, and these two. So in your kit, if you got a kit to go for this class, you could have any couple of these, the combination of these. I use this one on the example, but at the class, I also have this die cut, this one, and this one. So either one will make a nice accent to your project. Let me see. So here, I've got this one down here, but you can use any of the other ones as well. So they all came out of this die set. And then this, goodness, this die is made to layer inside of, or lay inside of this embossing folder, just like that. You put your cardstock in there. You can close that, run that both through the embossing machine, die cutting machine, and it will emboss and die cut them at the same time. So really kind of cool. So that's why it's called a hybrid embossing folder. So let me tuck this back in there. Get that out of the way. So we've got that bundle. And then the stamp set, Frozen Edges, which again is not autumn related, but it's in the holiday catalog and I love it. We're going to be using this one, definitely. You'll be seeing this one again because it's a beautiful snowflake set, which I love. But I took out the let yourself rest and put that on this card. I just feel like that statement, that sentiment is something you could send to anyone who just needs, well, they're just having a difficult time and they need to let themselves rest. So I really love that sentiment. I pulled that out. These are the dies that go with the stamp set. They're bundled together in the September through December catalog, but we're not going to use the dies today. I just wanted to show you that. Okay, I'm going to set those things aside. The supplies that we have in our kit are, we've got, of course, our white envelope. We've got a piece of basic beige that is 5.5 by 8.5. A piece of cardstock vellum that is 4 by 5.25. A piece of basic white that's 3.5 by 5. A piece of basic beige that is 1 inch by 4 inches. And then I've gone ahead and die cut a basic beige leaf. This is how I did it for the class. I went ahead and die cut the leaves and we're going to use the Stamparatus to stamp it. So we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. And then I've just got some rustic gems that we're going to put on our card as an embellishment. So I've gone ahead, of course, and die cut the detailed element out of with our die set and the larger leaf. So our die cutting is done. The next thing we'll want to do is, so we take our vellum piece of cardstock and put that in the embossing folder and run that through the cut and emboss machine. So when you do that, you end up with this beauty. Look at what the embossing folder does to that vellum. It like makes it white, pops those leaves out. Just really, really cool effect. So we've got that done. Now we're going to do a little stamping. Get our card base folded. So it's scored at 4¼ I'm just going to fold that on the score line and flatten that out. And we'll do a little stamping here before we bring in the Stamparatus. So I want to put a leaf on my envelope, and I'm just going to gently ink this because look at that. That thing is very well juiced. I'm just going to stamp a leaf on my corner of my envelope. And I want to do one on the inside of my card. Okay, let's set those two aside. I'm going to go ahead and clean this off because, again, the Blackberry Bliss was worn by all at class. So I want to get that cleaned off pretty quickly. All right. And then I'm going to stamp my greeting. So this one does not go with this project. So I've got the Let Yourself Rest. And that's the red rubber. So I am going to set this on my regular desk surface instead of using the foam mat. Those stamped. I'm bringing the Stamparatus. So the Stamparatus, Stampin' Up! No longer carries that. I know, very sad. So sad, indeed. So this is shifted a little bit, so I just want to get that back on place. So I've made myself a template. As you can see, Blackberry Bliss ink on here. Again, like I said, very well loved. Everybody was wearing it. So I've made a template with that die cut. And what I'm going to do is take my basic beige leaf and just put that in the spot of that die, that die cut. And I'm going to go ahead and ink my large leaf there just gently. Grab my little, see. Yeah, I really wish Stampin' Up! Would not have gotten rid of this, but you know what? I don't make the decision, so not much I can do about it. If you have one, you love it, I'm sure. So I'm just taking my little knob here and running it over, applying pressure there to transfer that image. Oh. This is using your Stamparatus is a great way. Like if you're making a bunch of cards like I was doing for class when I was preparing the kits, I could just die cut leaf after leaf after leaf and not have to worry about lining up the stamped image to run it through the die cutting machine. So then by making myself a template, it just allows me to keep putting the leaves down, ink it, stamp it, put another leaf down, ink it, stamp it. It kind of cuts down on your time if you're making a lot of the same card. So definitely a way to go as far as making a lot of the same card. It just is an ease as far as them not having to line up the die. I'm going to put this in here so I can close that and I'll clean that off later. Okay, we've got everything stamped. I'm going to close this baby. Surprised I do not have it on my hands, but I don't want to speak too loudly there. Okay. So when you're working with vellum is transparent, obviously. And so if you put lines of your adhesive, like your Stampin' Seal or whatnot, you're gonna see that through the vellum. So what I shared with the ladies at class, and a good thing to do is that, so I'm gonna take and assemble my card just on the vellum. I'm not gonna put it yet on the card. So I'm gonna try and figure out where I want all my pieces. Tuck that there. Okay. So I'll put that one in place, and then I'm going to put this on here, but I'm going to leave a little bit of it off that'll end up cutting it off. So I just don't want to put adhesive on everything. Just going to do a little snail. Well, that's not seal, it's Stampin' Seal. Just have snail. And just going to put that down at an angle. and press that in place. So this is hanging over a little bit, so I'll just go ahead and trim that. And I just do that by flipping it over. Now this little detailed element down here, I'm not going to trim that off. It's okay if it hangs over. I'm fine with that. If you want to trim it off, you can. So I've assembled like my card front piece, that layer. Then what I'm going to do is flip it over and you can see all these areas where I have cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and run additional adhesive there because the cardstock's covering it. So you're not going to be able to see that I've run adhesive, holding it in place. So I've got it in various different spots and I'm going to use that then to fasten it to my card base. Okay. Now for this one, these are actually holding down really well. There's a little lift right here. So with that, and with some glue dots, and so this is what I would advise is just to use a glue dot. And then various spots, there's little embossed areas. If you just put that glue dot right below an embossed area, you're not going to be able to see that glue dot there because the embossing is covering it. And honestly, the rest of the corners look good. So I'm just going to keep it in just that one. I'm not going to go ahead and do all four corners because I was able to put a lot of adhesive behind here and it's holding it down fine. But that's what I suggest with vellum is build your card layer and then flip it over and see where you've got layers of cardstock that you can put adhesive there. And you might find that you don't have to put it anywhere else on the sheet. If you do, use glue dots. The mini glue dots, they work great. Okay. And then we'll put our inside layer in there. Got our envelope. Now we need a couple embellishments here, and I'm just using some rustic metallic dots. We use most of the larger ones at class, so we're just going to do a couple small ones here. This back in there. All right. And so there's our first project. Done with that one. Okay. So let me clean up these supplies here. And I'll be right back with our next project. Okay, here is our next project. Let me grab this one. So this one at class, they did two different ones because of the designer series paper. I ran out of the one color, so I had to go with another color. So one is done in wild wheat, which you can see the designer series paper. This is part of the winter floral designer series paper, which I'll show you here in a second. And so this one's done in wild wheat. Everything is pretty much flush to the card, except we've got this little flower here popped up. But we're going to do one in cherry cobbler and use the cherry cobbler blackberry bliss. And there's a little berry burst in here, designer series paper. Okay, so I'll give you those measurements in just a minute. So as I mentioned, the paper that we're using is the winter floral paper, and it goes along with the Regal Flora stamp set. So you get this really cool die that cuts out a label piece and then a frame, which I will show you a little closer here. Also in this die set, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that cut out the 5 images in the stamp set. And then you get a detailed little floral piece, like a line of florals. Okay. And then this stamp set, I really loved the imagery in there, but I really loved these two sentiments in there. Wishing I were there to give you a hug and sending love your way. Of course, the missing you and thanks go nicely with that too. And then you've got some nice little dots to create some texture on your project. So this is the Regal Winter. I don't know why it's such Regal. It's Regal Winter. Good gracious. So there's a couple of the pieces that I used on the projects you see here, and these are some of the other colors. Really beautiful paper. Like, I don't think there's like a bad piece in the whole packet. This one has more of the blackberry bliss flowers, where this one has more red. You can see the differences in the two there. They're very similar, but those color differences. And then of course this one has blue on the back, where this one has the cherry cobbler. Okay, so really beautiful pack. I've used probably half of it already, so there's not an entire pack there to kind of show you, but it gives you a peek at it. So we're gonna go ahead and let's see, I've showed you that. Where the colors we're using: wild wheat, early espresso, and cherry cobbler. I'm using my Stampin' Up mini cutter. And then we're using Stamparatus again to do some, do our images with our die cuts. So move this out of the way. Our paper measurements. So I've got a confetti cream here envelope. I ran out of the vanilla envelopes. I had some of these left and they worked for the ladies and they loved them. And so it works very well with this project. So I just went with it. I wish Stampin' Up would actually come back with the confetti cream, cardstock, and envelopes. Our card base for this one, again, I showed you the wild wheat. This one's going to be in cherry cobbler. So it's going to be 5.5 by 8.5. It's scored at 4.25. Then we've got a piece of very vanilla, which is cut at 3.5 by 5. Got a piece of our designer series paper, which is cut at 3 by 4.25. So I've gone ahead and die cut out my pieces like I did on the last one. I've gone ahead and die cut multiple pieces that I'm then going to use in the Stamparatus and put the images on there. This was just an easier way for me to do it at class to kind of help the ladies with their time. By just die cutting this, it saves them that step and they just use the Stamparatus to stamp it. And then on this piece, so let's talk about that. So when you die cut this, when you run this die cut, it gives you two pieces. You'll see here on the outer edge there, there's a frame right there. And then this inside layer is what is part of the label that cuts there. So what I mean by that is, reverse this. Okay. So when you die cut it out, you're getting this label piece that has some stitching on it. Let me see if I can get that on the camera. There we go. So it's got some stitching on it. And then you're getting this piece, which I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, but there's also stitching on this. So you get the label and you get the frame. For this project here, I wanted a darker frame piece. So I ended up getting this label, which I'll use on something else in the future. I want to stamp on the cream label, and I want to use this frame to kind of offset and really make my sentiment piece pop out, the greeting. So I've got this vanilla frame and this early espresso piece that I did not use. We'll use them on something else later. All right, so the die cutting has already been done. This side, we'll go ahead and fold our card base. Okay, and we're gonna do a little stamping. So let me get all my pieces that I need to stamp on. And we'll get those done first. I wanna grab another image out of this stamp set. Use the little floral piece here. There's also this really cute one with the little sprigs kind of coming up through in the leaves. So I'm gonna use the one. And the pieces. Great, so I'm gonna open up the cherry cobbler ink, and we're not gonna use the wild wheat, even though it would be part of your packet. If you're doing this, you'll have something in wild wheat as well. And I wanna go ahead and stamp on the envelope. And these are it's a distinctive image, so you're going to have depth and texture to that. So see how some of it's lighter, some of it's darker. That is, it's meant to stamp that way. I think I'll just do a little one on the front and then maybe put one on the back like a little seal. So we'll set that aside. And this one, okay. I was like, how am I gonna lay my card out? I was trying to figure that out. Okay, so I'm gonna put just a cherry cobbler flower down below. And I want to stamp my sentiments in the early espresso. So bring my label back in here. And wishing I were there to give you a hug, just gently stamping that around there. I didn't re-ink these pads after class, so we'll see how well they stamp. Excuse me if my head is in the shot there. Okay, got that one stamped on our label. And we'll do this one inside, sending love your way. I'm going to stamp that down here at the base. I like doing that because then it doesn't kind of go right in the middle of your writing space. So it's, you know, personal preference, but I started doing that just so it's not, doesn't break up your message that you want to put on the card. Okay, then next we're going to bring in our Stamparatus. And like with the other one, I've made a template. And I'm just going to go ahead and put these pieces in place. So just fit them in there like a puzzle. And let me pop out that little piece that was still in the die. Slowly piece. Okay. So where is my little stamp? Oh, did I bring those over? Yeah, there they are. So I've got a little Stampin' Spot in the early espresso, which is what I used at class, because sometimes using the full-size pad, it ends up getting everywhere, which for some people, it ended up doing that as well. And it's just a matter of training yourself not to press so hard that you get just ink everywhere. Just a gentle stamp tap of the image there, and it'll do fine. This little guy moved. Got my fan blowing on everything, so you know that's always interesting. All right, so we've got that down. I'm gonna press. Okay. And there we've got our cherry cobbler flowers stamped and already die cut out for you. And then that one. And I'm gonna go ahead and put in my second leaf. And when I did mine, I didn't stamp it, ink it again. I just stamped it down to get a lighter shading of that early espresso. It kind of ends up coming out like a little bit crumb cakey, I think. But so you get a little bit of just different colors that adds a little extra element added to it. And I think that's it as far as our stamping. So I'm going to go ahead and close these just so I don't get ink everywhere, which is quite possible. Okay, and I'm going to bring my little cutter in because we want to cut this and make some smaller, what am I trying to say? I'm going to cut it in 3 sections, 1.25 inches, 1 inch, and then 3/4 of an inch. And what that does, because it kind of blends with the paper there, it kind of elongates the pattern paper on the card. Because it's a great way, like if you're like for me, when I was cutting the supplies, I needed to maximize that designer series paper so that I could get enough cuts for people that to make their cards at the class. So by doing a 3 by 4 1/4, I was able to get a little more use out of the paper. But also doing this, it just creates an extra element of interest to your card by making those little panels and elongating that pattern paper. So we're going to take our DSP and cut that at 1.25 inches. Okay. And then And you know what? I might have, I'm like, did I just mess this up? No, an inch. I'm second guessing myself. Inch and a quarter, an inch, and then 3/4 of an inch. Oh my goodness. Okay, now we're ready to start assembling. So I'm gonna grab my liquid glue for this. Gives me a little time for positioning. Designer paper. So I'm just gonna start over to the left side and work my way to the right. And I'm just leaving like, I don't know, I'd say like, it's not a quarter an inch, it's a quarter an inch between. It's more like probably like an eighth. Just a little space there. It creates just a little gap. You can do however you like. All right, so we've got our 3 pieces on the front of the card. Go ahead and put our inside layer in there. Gives it a nice border around the cardstock with that 3.5 by 5 layer. Okay. And then we'll put our label piece on, our sentiment. So we're going to set that in place. Like, yeah, position it however you might like. Now, this is my tip for putting this frame on. Some of the ladies turned it over and took their adhesive around and just held it. Sometimes that can get a little messy with the glue. So what I like to do is just take my liquid glue and just create a very thin line around the border of my, and I'll show you here once I do this, because I don't know that the camera's actually picking this up. I'm just putting a very thin bit of glue. So see, just a thin bit of glue right around that label. And then I'm going to take my label frame and set that right over it like a puzzle. And it just presses down there, frames the label so nicely, really makes it gives that like a nice accent there. And then I don't have glue all over my fingers. So for me, that's an easy way to do it when you're dealing with these delicate things that just kind of like create that little trail of glue and then fasten things down from there. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on these pieces. Well, my goodness, if I could pick that up. And then I'm just going to set these kind of in place like that. And this next one, I want to put those flowers in with some dimensionals. Okay. And I'm just going to offset those there. So that doesn't cover up my greeting, but just kind of complements those little leaves nicely. Okay. So I've got my envelope here. Yeah. So we've got this one, and then there you've got the same, different color, same layout and everything, but different colors using the same paper. So I hope you enjoyed that project as well. All right, let me clean up this mess of stuff and all these creative goodies, and I'll be right back with another project for you. Okay, all right. Our next project is this fun little one right here. Look at that. Isn't that so adorable? This set, this More Than Autumn set is so cute. I'm going to give you a closer look at it here in just a minute, but we're just going to use some fun plaid embossing folders of the paper and these cute little images from the stamp set with the Nothing's Better Than Autumn Except Maybe You. who wouldn't like to get that card for the autumn time and just maybe even like a little Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or some kind of sweet treat drink kind of coupon, or not coupon, but gift card in there. So I think that would be a lot of fun to kind of surprise somebody with. So okay, we're going to go ahead and get started on this one. So in this project, we are using our Memento black ink and the blender pen, which typically when you're doing watercolors with the watercolor pencils and you're blending, you want to use the StazOn ink and not Memento. But I have found for me with this particular project, this stamp set, that using the Memento worked out just fine. I liked the crisp um, images that the Memento stamp sometimes stays on. They're just not as crisp, in my opinion. It's still a great ink, but for me, the Memento is what I grabbed because that way I could use it on not only the images in the stamp set, where we're coloring in, but I could also use it on the sentiments that I was stamping, and it did a very clean job as far as that transfer. So we've got the Memento black ink. We're also using the Forever Plaid Forever Plaid embossing folder, which is new in the September to December catalog. And then we've got this adorable More Than Autumn stamp set and dies. So it's a cute bundle. And you can use this all fall and winter long because we've got all the peppermint, hot cocoa, eggnog, all the things for like Christmassy type seasons as well. And then just all these fun little sentiments in there. I think this one's going to be really a lot of fun to work with. And then of course you got dies to complement everything, to cut the images out that are in the stamp set, as well as some different words like donuts, autumn, cocoa, nut, and what do I want to say? Nothing's better than, kind of thing. And then you add your little sentiment there too. So just a really fun set. And then I've got watercolor pencils. This is one of our current sets. These are ones I've had for a while. If you have watercolor pencils, whatever set you have, as long as you have an array of colors, you're good to go. So Stampin' Up offers a variety of those. I just happen to have one from a while back. So, and I've got my stamps already on blocks. We're using the Stamparatus again. And I think that's about it. I think so. Okay. So I'm going to share with you the supplies that you'll have in your kit if you've got a kit to go. You've got, of course, your white envelope. We've got some thick basic white cardstock that's 5.5 by 8.5, and it is scored at 4.25 for you. You've got a piece of pumpkin pie that is 4 by 5.25. You'll have some die cuts in your kit, little cup and the like Cool Whip topping type thing. So that will be already done for you. And you'll have a piece of ribbon as well. And we're going to use that. And then you could have any one combination of any of these four plaid papers. They all have pumpkin pie in them. So they will all complement, on the pumpkin pie design as far as pulling that orange out. So just know that. So with the designer series paper, it is 2 by 5.25. That's what your piece will be, but it could be any of those. All right, we're going to start by folding our card base in half. Flatten that with the bone folder. For the pumpkin pie, we're going to emboss that with the Forever Plaid embossing folder. And when I run that through this folder, and this is one of our nice big folders, so you can actually do 2 pieces at once, 2 card fronts at once. Once I run that through, I'm going to get this design, and that's what we're going to put on our card base. Okay. And I've already got my stamps on the blocks as far as what I want to use. So I'm going to set this aside to dry. Set it aside. Oh my goodness. And then I've already die cut the cup out and the little Cool topping too. So that's already been done for us. For our ribbon, we're going to use half of this. So in your kit, you're going to want to take and cut this in half long ways. And this is similar to the white frayed ribbon that we have. I believe it's in the holiday catalog. Um, this is, I use this all the time. If you watch my videos, you know I use it all the time because I bought a ton of it. I love this ribbon. It's on the clearance rack, Stampin' Up clearance rack, and it's like $3, super inexpensive. And you can make your own frayed ribbon. I do this all the time. As you know, if you watch my videos, I like absolutely, I don't know what I'll do when my supply of this ribbon runs out because I love it so much. I just love the softness of it. And when you pull the fibers after you cut it, you get that double fray. And that's pretty much what we have in the catalog right now. So it's like it works for me. But if you want it already done, get that ribbon and you're good to go. But I love how it ties. I love how it lays. So yeah, can't think of good things about that. All right, so we're going to bring the Stamparatus in. I'm using that same template that we used earlier. However, I'm going to use it for the cup and the whipped topping. Now there's also a pie piece. Some of the ladies did a pumpkin pie on theirs. So I had a die cut out for that. But for this one, I'm going to just use the cup and the whipped cream. Just tap that on there. Bring that down. Grab that and get a little pressure on there. Okay. And goes out with my take your pick tool. This is already, we're done with this. I'm going to set this aside. And we're going to do a little stamping now. Oh, you also need, and I didn't say that, just some strips, some little strips of pumpkin pie or your basic white for your sentiments. So I'm going to stamp the Nothing's Better Than. Stamp that up and stamp that down. That cleans off. Okay. And then we've got the Except Maybe You. And so I'm just stamped them on a strip like this. And then what I'm going to do is just angle cut them. So nothing fancy. It's just, I'm just going to cut them down to what angle I want. So super easy. You've got the 1/2 inch strips. You're good to go. You just cut it how much ever white you want on this. So these are trash. So we've got those two. And then I need my little autumn. And this one is cursive. So add on there. Okay. And I'm also going to stamp a little pumpkin on my cup. We'll pretend it's like a pumpkin spice latte, something like that. It seems all the rage, you know, all the things. And we'll, you know what, on our envelope, we're going to do a little pumpkin. Do one on there, one on the little corner. I think that's everything. Oh, no, that's not everything. I forgot to use straws. Forgot to use straw. So stamp that down. This one has the straw has a little die cut too, but honestly, it's so easy to cut that out that I did not die cut that. It's not going to take very long to cut that. It take me more time to line it up in the die cutting machine than it will to do this. It's literally like 4 cuts. Done. So yeah, easy to do, but there is a die for it if you would prefer that. And then the autumn, I'm just going to bubble cut it around. And there's really no right or wrong way to do this. I'm just gently like kind of circling around my stamped word there. Okay, all good there. And now we're ready to use a little bit of coloring. Yep, what did I do with my pencils? Oh, they're right there. I'm like, I knew I had them here, but then they just disappeared out of the way. Okay, so it's espresso and pumpkin pie. I think that's all I need. So with the, nope, that is not, this is not early espresso. That one's rich raspberry. I totally looked at that wrong. Let me grab this one. Let's see. Yes. So with blending, what you're going to do is this is what I do, I guess. I'll show you what I do. I like to put a little bit of color towards the top and kind of heavy to the sides there. Same here, heavy to the sides, towards the bottom, and around the other side. And then I'm going to just go ahead and shade in a little orange. I'll go ahead and do this on our envelope too. Okay. So if you're looking at it on the camera and you're just like, really, Christina, that's a terrible job that you've done. Okay. So like that's my coloring that I've got on there. Not a lot. Okay. And I just have some like lines of color on that pumpkin. Well, when you're using the blender pens, you don't have to color it all in because the blender pens do the work and soften that color and get rid of those lines. I'm going to do this and then I'll show you a little closer. Just so what I like to do is do all the same color at once. So right now I'm just doing all my oranges. And then I'm going to swipe that off on my paper. And then I'm going to go right to the brown. So I'm going to take my blender pen and go around there, but then pulling it across too. Okay. Same thing on the top here. Going around top and the sides where there's more pencil and then pulling it in. Okay. And then like what I was showing earlier, you just are going to swipe on your scrap paper so you're not having color come off. And then your blender pen is clean and you can use it on the next color. So just by like putting a little color there, I'm just going to get some depth to that cup with the shadowing by blending it. Okay. Now we're ready to assemble our card. Out of the way. I'm going to use my liquid blue. And this plaid folder, you could really put it on either side. It's not a right or wrong way because it's the plaid is embossed and debossed on both sides. So it's really just a preference of which one you like. You know what? I just made a boo-boo. Okay, let me see. Let me pull this up. See? Channeling all those ladies. It's because I didn't have that designer series paper here. I put the glue on and I need to get my ribbon down. So see, it happens. It happens, ladies, when we're crafting. So I'm going to take my ribbon and get that in a knot. So I'm going to just take that and tie a knot. So I've got two tails and a knot kind of in the center. I'm so glad I saw that before I put it down. Okay. I mean, I'm so glad I got that before it adhered down. I had already put it down. So I know why I got distracted because I was going to do something a little different with this card because I cut all the papers for the ladies for their packets and I had all these strips left. So I was going to change this one up a little bit. And let me grab my slip. If you ever do this, like I just did, and you put adhesive on your card and you're like, oh my gosh, I did that wrong. Just get your silicone mat, put it down, put your sticky side, your adhesive side down on that, and you can work on it and then pick it back up. So great little tip there. So what I was going to do, because I had already used all the other pieces and I had these little strips left, I was like, you know what? I'm going to put a card together and I'm going to use the strips. Well, I'm going to see if I can do it anyway. We're gonna see if I can make this work. I don't know. Just trying to figure out how to put it together. Okay, I think I'm making this work. See, this is also a great little lesson here on showing you how to use your supplies and make the most of them. So yeah, this is going to accomplish the same thing. Okay, all right. I need to put some adhesive on these. But you're seeing this like create and go right here in process. We're going to see how this goes. So I'm going to put the center one on first, right on the center of my card, and I'll do each side. Yeah, this is it's either gonna go good or it's gonna go real bad, but we'll find out together. I just thought, you know what? I'm gonna show you a different way that you can create if you're like working with strips, but you want to accomplish the same effect with like a panel. Push this down. Okay. Okay, this one is like it's a little off, but it's working. It's working. Okay. So I've got my three pieces on there. I'm gonna pull this up, trim off my excess because they weren't cut to the length because I was like, you know what? I'm gonna grab those strips and I'm gonna try to make the card and make it a little different to show what you can do with those pieces and get a very similar effect. All right, so we've got that down. Now we got to put our piece of ribbon here. And I'm gonna do that right there. Okay. So I knotted the ribbon. What I want to do is flip this over and I'm just going to use some Scotch tape. Because I find that works best when fastening ribbon behind. So, okay. All right, we're making this work. All right, so now I've got to apply some more adhesive because I buggered it up earlier. So got fresh adhesive on there. We're going to bring our card base back in and we're going to put that down again. Only this time we've got our designer series paper and the ribbon on there, which is what we should have done in the first place. Okay, then next I'm going to put my little cup on here, kind of get that in place. And there. Cool whip on place, and I'm gonna tuck the little straw in there. So it's coming side. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. This little cup, this is so cute. Right, and then we've got our nothing's better than. Tuck that right here. Oh my gosh, I just love this. I love these little pieces. They just are so fun to work with. It's kind of like a little paper doll set, but for coffee cups. I don't know. Cute. And okay. Look at that. Okay, we've got our little pumpkin on our envelope and we pieced it together show that you can work with other things. You can take those strips and get a very similar card design. I don't know. I just thought this would be fun to kind of play with it. So hopefully you enjoyed the creative adventure that I just took you on with not only changing that up, but then my mistake of gluing things down before I needed to glue them down. All right, so I'm going to clean these supplies up and I'll be right back with our next project. Okay, all right, we've got our last project. So this is the next one we're going to make. Go. Okay, with some beautiful DSP, a lot of die cutting, some embossing, some embellishments. It's got all the things, all the things. So, okay. So let me share with you what we're using on this project. We've got Cajun Craze ink. We've got our basic beige ink. And then we are using the autumn leaves. I didn't use the stamp set for myself. I didn't use it on this project, but I had it out for the ladies if they wanted to use the greetings in this stamp set. This is available online. It's no longer in a bundle, but you can get the dies and the stamp set separately. And then I used the dies. I used this little leaf, this one, and then this one. So there's 2 of each in here. So a total of 6 of these dies. So I die cut those out in various colors, which you'll see in a minute. So that's what I used out of this die set. We're using the Leaf Fall and 3D embossing folder, and it gives you like this cascade of leaves falling, hence the name. And then we're using a new stamp set and die set that is in the catalog. It's called Autumn Expressions. It's got some great imagery in here for like very fall festive, but just some beautiful sentiments with, I love the font in here. And they're just really nice sentiments. This one in particular, May the Beauty of the Season, fill your heart with joy. You could use that all fall long. You could use that in the winter as well. So this die set here, I used these 3 little leaves. So let me get that out. We use that one too. So I used the 2 detailed leaves dies, and then I also used the one that will die cut out this stamp leaf in the stamp set. And then I die cut the piece in which we're putting our greeting on for our front of our card. I die cut it out of one of these panels of this framed piece. So this die set has a little chain link in there and then the little like clasp that you would put up there meant to kind of make a picture frame. And I haven't done that yet in a class, but I imagine that we will. But it's really a cool design and it works beautifully with this paper, like you would be hanging like ball portraits and whatnot. So we'll explore that a little later. But that is how I got the die cut for the greeting for this stamp or this project. I'm gonna put these things aside. And then we also use the Splendid Autumn Designer Series paper. And I think I shared it before in my catalog. This doesn't actually do it justice going through it like this. But the paper is just really beautiful. It's got all kinds of fall imagery on it. Just beautiful. I'm not going to do it justice by showing it to you this way. And then on the back side, you've got these lovely like fall colored texture pieces. Look at that. That's so pretty. So pretty. So yeah, I used a good bit of this packet on the class when I was cutting for the class, but there's a variety of different patterns in the kits. So you may have something different than what I'm using on this particular example or what I'm using in the example I've shown to you here. All will go. So just know that it'll coordinate with your project. Those dies aside. Okay. So these are our supplies. So we've got a piece of basic beige that's 5.5 by 8.5. Another piece of basic beige that's 4 by 5.25. Our basic white envelope. Here's our die cut piece that I cut out of that double frame. And we're just using the inside instead of like the framed part of it. And then I've die cut the little leaves in Mossy Meadow, Crushed Curry, and Cajun Craze. And because I was already trying to prep and get things a little bit more uh, readily available for you so you didn't have to watch me do that, I stamped and die cut this leaf out too. So we've got all of our leaves ready to go. So this piece will run through the cotton emboss machine through our leaf ball embossing folder. And when we do, we get this. So this cascade of leaves coming down our cardstock. And then, oh, I apologize. I didn't show you the card here. So we've got our card here. So you can see that this paper is different from the paper I used in this example. And I'm going to put the card together to show you how that will work with the other design paper too. Right? So we're going to fold our card base in half. It was scored at 4 1/4. And I have like a little bit of like, yeah, do I want to glue this down after the last card? I kind of hesitant. I was like, oh, I don't know. So you want to go ahead and glue this in place. We're just putting that right on the card front. And then we're going to put our designer series paper on there. Gluing that in place. Out. Okay, and I think I need to stamp this. Obviously, I need to have a greeting on there for heaven's sake. So we're going to use the Cajun Craze and I'm going to stamp, have a perfectly lovely day. So you could make this a birthday card. You could make it thinking of you card. You're just letting them know you want them to have a lovely day. Not just a lovely day, but a perfect day. Look, right there. I love that this label, it generously gives you enough space that you can get that greeting on there. And you can do it without having to like stamp it and then die cut it. Just die cut it out. Make a bunch of those and have them on hand. Okay, and then I want to do a little stamping on my envelope and also on the inside. So I'm going to use the basic beige and kind of give it like a subtle, I'm going to use the little tree stumps here. And let's see. Put some little wheat stems there. And maybe I'll put a couple leaves here too in the Cajun Craze. So just creating like a little bit of fall design down there. On the inside of our card, let's do something here for our envelope. Maybe do some leaves and could do a little tree stump there too and do a couple leaves in the Cajun Craze. Yeah, I like that. Okay. All right, I think we've got everything stamped. So we're gonna close the inks up so I do not set something in them. And we are ready to layer this card to complete it. So I want to put some dimensionals on underneath this, pop this up. Okay. And I'll set that right about there. You can just decide your placement based on your paper and where you want to set things. And then these little leaves, I'm just going to tuck them in. So I'm going to use my liquid glue for that because that gives me the ability to kind of glide them around where I want them. So I'm just tuck that one in there. And we'll do this one here. There we go. Take this little tiny leaf, So it's really wherever you want to place them. There's like no right or wrong way. I mean, it's just like leaves falling. And then do, I always like to start with my largest leaf. That's how I work. So it's whatever works best for you. But I typically start with my largest and go to the smallest leaf and I'm layering. Okay, and then we've got our last little mossy meadow one. Stuck there. Okay. Now, and then I forgot to gems out. I have them set aside here, but I forgot to grab them. So then we're going to put some little sparkly gems on card. Okay. And there we go. There's our project. Okay, let me kind of move all this aside here. Bring our projects back in. So we've got this one, this one. There we go. So kind of all jumbled in there a little bit. Sorry about the mess here over the side. Okay. All right, so there's our fall stamping fun. You know, some autumn cards that you can send this time of the year. Let me flip the camera around here just a second. Okay. All right. Well, that was a stamping frenzy, wasn't it? Um, I am really hoping that my sound worked for this entire time and that you are actually going to be able to hear this video. If it did not, I potentially will just like cry about it because it was that frustrating getting it started. So I'm really hoping that it recorded and with audio. So thank you so much for joining me today for this autumn card class. I hope that it inspired you to get out your stamps and create some autumn cards and send them. You know, if you make the cards and you're not sending them, they're not bringing joy to somebody. They're not brightening somebody's day if they're sitting in a box in your craft room. You got to send them. So thank you again for joining me. If you have any questions about things that you saw in the video today or just thoughts, feel free to reach out to me. My email is stampmecrazy@sbcglobal.net. You are welcome to like the video. Wait, I can never figure out how to, this. I don't know. Just down there should be like a like or subscribe button or all the things in YouTube land. Feel free to do that if you'd like the video. If there's something that you want to share in the comments, please do. I'd love to hear back from you. I'd love your feedback. And yeah, so until next time, happy stamping.